Virginia Council Legislative Meeting for May 19th, 2022. Would you stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin this part of the meeting, I'd like for our lieutenant acting chief to
Sorry, I can't hear what you said.
Lieutenant Barnes, with you, just give the a brief account of conduct with regards to this public meeting.
He's not going to do that, Lieutenant Burns.
I can't do it.
Yeah, he's not going to do that.
Okay, Mr. Solicitor,
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Barnes, would you give the summary, please? Excuse me, what is going on? What's going on? Well, listen,
It's not up to the police chief or the acting chief. I think it's more appropriate for the borough solicitor to do that.
we had
He's the neutral legal solicitor for the borough. And it's more his purview to conduct that summation and the police chief.
Does it make a difference? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think it does.
let me just,
Because the police chief and the police are neutral, and we don't want to give the optic of taking sides or bully type of thing. I think it's better coming from the Councilor Burns. I just think it's better, and that's been the traditional role of the solicitor, not the police chief. I've not, since this council came to power, that they want the police chief or the acting police chief to take on that role. It's usually the role of the solicitor to advise us on code of conduct and what we would, yeah.
okay, let me just, I'll also give a comment. Last month, I met with the mayor and with the chief and with our borough manager.
And solicitor.
And the solicitor. And as you are very much aware, these council meetings have not been peaceful, and have not been orderly. In an effort to change that, we agreed that a code of conduct for local residents, that if the police department and the acting chief, the Lieutenant Barnes, was also in thorough conference with that meeting, that the agreement was that he would inform at 2 warnings, if residents or people in this audience, if you can maintain order outside of this chamber, you certainly can maintain order within this chamber. And so orderly conduct is what is expected of residents and all of us here that you have elected to serve you. So we want order. That is what we are interested in maintaining, so that we can do the business of the town that you've elected us to do, and not take up any unnecessary time trying to speak or be heard or conduct the business here. Mr. Barnes.
That was a pretty good presentation from President Harris. So I really just to highlight, it's the mayor, the solicitor, president. We had a conference. We agreed that it seemed reasonable to try to keep this a very low speed. We don't want the police to really get involved, so it's a verbal warning, and then a second verbal warning, and you'll be asked to leave. That's what was agreed upon. That's what I still believe is on the table. endorsed by the president, the mayor, myself, from the solicitor's office, and the acting chief, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Solicitor, I have a question for you. So you just indicated that you, the mayor, and were meeting together, and you guys came up with this agreement to be announced at every meeting. I find it to be quite appalling, number one, that everyone on this council wasn't involved in those conversations. So it's a little insulting to the rest of the body here, number one. Number two, and more importantly, it's insulting to the community, the community to automatically assume that they do not know how to behave, or they don't have proper decorum, and they need to be informed prior to any meeting starting. It's insulting. The 2 warnings, I'm not concerned about the 2 warnings at all. Because if you want the public to give respect, they need to receive the respect. And the public feel it necessary to speak up for themselves, that's what I expect. But I do not expect for them to be berated, belittled, and ignored, and not respond. That's not what I expect from the community. And I would be quite ashamed if anyone would accept that type of behavior. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, the roll call, please.
Mayor Hopkins, excuse me. Mayor Hopkins.
Present.
President Sharon, Council Harris.
Present.
Vice President Ben Johnson. Councilor Talia Jones-Water. Councilor Carlette Brooks.
Present.
Councilor Nicole Beatty.
Present.
Councilor Toya Monroe.
Present.
Councilor Leanna Brocloud.
Here.
Our solicitor, Mr. Mark Munch, is representative.
Present.
Our finance director, Nicholas Nichols.
Present.
Our tax collector, Yolanda Hughes.
Present.
And our engineer, Mr. Joe Pacifico.
Present.
Thank you, sir. All present and public.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to make a motion at this time for reorganization to remove Sharon Council Harris as president of this council and replace her with Nicole Beatty.
Second.
Yes, I second it.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor, indicate.
Roll call,
Raise your hand.
please.
Mr. Dodson, would you give a roll call, please?
Okay. President Council Harris.
No.
Councilperson Johnson.
No.
Councilperson Waters.
No.
Councilperson Brocloud.
Yes.
Councilperson Brooks.
I say, no.
Council.
You know, this, let me go.
We're taking a vote.
No.
Hold on.
Taking the vote, what?
We're taking a vote.
After, we're gonna give an opportunity. Councilor, you don't have discussion.
Councilor Monroe.
Yes.
Councilor Beatty.
Yes.
Okay, she had already.
Well,
Okay. Are there any discussions?
Yes.
Councilor.
So we're inviting for discussion.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'd like to be recognized after.
Councilor.
Okay, well, as far as calling for the, council, the president to see, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're saying, but it would be very unfair to call for somebody's seat at this time when it's so much going on. So much been going on. You're not giving the council president a chance. If you think that no, it's been 6 months. Give her a chance. All that's been going on, the disruption at every meeting. I said, maybe she get nervous. We as a body, we should be working together. We should be working together as council. If she make a mistake, then we should work together to correct that mistake. We should not just be pointing the fingers at these small mistakes that's being made. Some big, some small. You know, well, the
Fire
whole
the
thing
chief
is
was not a small
everybody
mistake.
deserves-
Right.
Everybody deserves a chance. So the people voted for her to be on council, and council voted her to be the council.
The people voted for
I'm
the right
gonna give
thing
her
on
a chance.
council.
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, firing the chief wasn't on her platform when she was
Well,
running.
you know what? You take that up with his lawyer or my lawyer. That's what you do.
Yeah, you better have a lawyer.
Okay, Councilor Reed.
Did you want to go back?
Yes, I actually, I just heard the words, disruption. I think that if we take a moment to substitute that word for corruption, then there's one thing to have a mistake, but intentional and willful violation of the law repeatedly is not a mistake, and it is not legal. And we should not allow this behavior to continue to run this borough into the ground. The division, the cost factor, all of those things are costing our taxpayers. I allowed you to speak.
Did I say anything yet?
Okay.
Did I say anything yet?
Yeah, actually.
I didn't say anything yet.
Yeah, you.
But you can continue.
You did. You're saying
Well,
stuff to me.
I'm saying it now.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay, but I didn't.
But you know what? I'm not gonna go back and forth with
Thank
you
you, because
because
I didn't
I'm not gonna look like y'all look on camera.
I allowed you,
So continue.
I allowed you
I
to
apologize.
speak
Continue to talk.
without interruption. So as I said, if we substitute that word disruption with corruption, you would understand why it is that we take the stand that we do. This is not something to be taken lightly. You have people who are underqualified and overpaid on our tax dollar. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing. This is tens of thousands of dollars a month going out the door. And I don't have that type of money to waste, and I don't believe anyone in this audience has that type of money to waste. And I don't think that it's fair for the community. Will we continue to speak up? Yes. Is it going to be pleasant all of the time? No. But it is ethical and it is the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing for you to do. It is the right thing for you to do.
So, does this
What
code
you
of conduct apply for the council as well?
Or you
Why haven't we had
to be a
report? Because I'm speaking right now.
Okay,
I allowed you to have the floor. And I didn't finish. So this type of
personal.
disruption
It's
is
personal.
corruption.
It's personal. Don't be guilty about community. This is
I allowed
children.
I allowed you to speak for the entire duration of what you said, and you should have afforded me that same opportunity. In addition, I don't understand how this code of conduct only applies to Ms. Roadcloud, Ms. Beatty, and myself, and the audience. They can disrupt, they can not show, and it's all okay. It's a mistake. There's no mistake happening here. This is willful and intentional. Not to mention the harassment of our borough employees. Come on, how long are we going to allow this to continue? Councilor Beatty, I'm done now.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. Councilor Beatty,
I'm
you're
gonna be very
recognized.
brief. Nothing I do up here is personal, because it's not personal for me. Again, You know, I don't dislike anybody up here personally, because it's not about how we personally feel about anything. It's about order, it's about getting to the business. I wanted to take that seat because I thought I would be the only person that could work with everybody up here. I think just about everybody. And I thought that we could probably get something done. But that doesn't seem to be the priority here. Why I voted, and I will be in full transparency, yes, I did vote for Mrs. Council Harris to be the council president, but I didn't vote for a title. I didn't vote for somebody who just has this my way or the highway attitude, who does not include all 7 of the councilors in all the decisions that are being made, and I'm supposed to respect that type of leadership.
No.
So no, it has nothing to do with personal. I'm not up here to be personal with none of y'all. I'm up here to get back to what we're supposed to be, what we were entrusted to do, the business. This cat fighting, I'm tired of it, and I said that several times. I don't know why anybody think I'm doing anything up here personal. I'm just gonna say on the record, I am not. I wanted to see if there could be something done going forward that we could try to get some business done. It has nothing to do with how I personally feel about anybody. And I think that's a very immature way to look at what's going on. If you mess it up and you continue to mess up and it's costing us money as taxpayers, then it has to be corrected. Just like you said, the chief made all these mistakes. You didn't have that same grace for him. So now we gotta have all this grace for the council president. Oh, she made a mistake. I'm gonna give her a chance. I'm gonna give her a chance. And this is not, for those of you who don't know, this is not the first time the council president was voted out of that seat. So, I mean, so if y'all thought that then, and nothing has changed, and the leadership has not changed, then you can't be there. So, because you have the numbers on your side doesn't make you right. And you're not the children.
Councilor Beatty, I'm recognizing Councilor Jones-Williams.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I had a lot to say, but can we please just move on and get away from the distractions? Let's get on with the
Okay,
proceedings.
so.
I actually have a statement as well.
Okay.
Sorry about
Oh, I'm recognized? Okay. Yes, I would like to echo everything that Councilor Monroe, Councilor Beatty just said. It's nothing personal about this. It's business. It's all business.
And moving
This-
forward.
This administration has dug such a deep hole for this entire community, not by accident, not by mistake, but by intentional acts. And as a result of that, you do not deserve that seat at all. We talk about giving chances, but I see a newsletter that was just circulated. Today was my first time looking at a newsletter. I was not asked to participate in the newsletter. I knew nothing about the newsletter. And here we have a newsletter that the taxpayers paid $5,550 for, that includes the 10 facts about Chief Paparo, something about fake news on the Facebook, and those 10 facts disparage Councilor Monroe, myself. And we're talking about getting along, and this is how we're supposed to conduct business. This is a joke. It's a joke. And if you need to know truthfully how I feel, I don't respect you as chair, period.
And then the vote fails, excuse me, Madam President, last comment.
Okay. Y'all, everybody agreed that the council president shouldn't be seated there. This is how I feel from what I've seen. And I'm new to politics, period. What I think needs to happen, if you really want to know, everybody up here, every one of us, including the mayor, need to resign and have a special election and put new people in these seats because you keep these This is what you want to get. Have a special election. Put new people in these seats. Y'all can do this. We can do this. All of us, including myself. Just resign. Other than that, you got 4 years.
Okay, thank you, thank you, Counselor. The motion that was on the, excuse me, Mayor, the motion that was on the floor has failed. Would you indicate that in the record, Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
I guess since I'm the point of interest here tonight, I think I have some privilege to make a statement. It is unconscionable for these co-councilors to make an assertion, any and all of you that have attended this meeting since January 3rd have not seen me one instance disrespect any councilor here.
I just gave y'all a solution to the problem. You don't have to like each other to work together. Y'all don't want to get along. Y'all think y'all hate, y'all dislike. You know, y'all don't. This thing is personal. I'm telling you. See, the community don't know everything. They only know what they're being told on the Bible. They hate each other. They will not never get along. And if y'all don't think that anything is going to get done from the borough, then everybody else can resign. Let's just resign and get a new committee up here that can work together. Let's get a new mayor. Let's get new councils. Everyone. Let's everybody.
I think you made your point. We now have the business of the borough to conduct.
No.
On the next on the agenda is the consideration. Excuse me, Councilor Brooks. Let's proceed.
I apologize, Madam President.
Let's proceed with the business of the borough. The motion failed. Now, consideration for accounts payable list.
You skipped over citizens
Citizens forum.
Well, That is true. Yes, it is. We put you at the front of the list.
Which means you didn't mean to do that.
Two other things, excuse me. Now, you asked a question as to why isn't decorum, why aren't, excuse me, ladies,
I'm seeing the firm one.
Counselor Brooks. Counselor
Next year, then we're not gonna start. Okay? We're not gonna start. We're not gonna start.
That's the second one.
Counselor.
Well, wait, so that's-
We gotta, counselor.
We in session.
We're in session.
Take a recess.
No, nobody has. No, I don't claim that I am the only one with this answer. Listen, let's finish the meeting. I'm done. You said what you said. I said what I said. So, done. That's right. Everybody should be fine.
All right, let's continue with the meeting. Let's continue with the meeting. Madam President.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
I cleared the floor for you.
Well, thank you, Ms. O'Meara. I'm glad the tape is running. I'm glad the photos are being taken, so that the community outside of these walls will have a fresh look at the contention and the ridiculous disruption
They won't,
that
they'll only get
occurs,
snippets.
They'll
never make
that, you see the counselor, Counselor Monroe does not have the permission to speak, but she violates decorum by talking without being acknowledged by the
When I
president.
asked to speak. I
So she goes on and on,
Yes.
and that's disruption.
Why are you calling out?
And when people in the audience, excuse me, when people in the audience are talking and making all the group talk where you can't hear what's going on up here, that's disruption.
The two councilors.
And excuse me, and when we have a scheduled agenda to go by, and we spend 25 minutes in this kind of display, you don't get the business of the town done. So I'm gonna ask again that you respect the House, respect these chambers, so that we can do the business of the borough. At the workshop meeting 2 weeks ago, we were not able to hear from the highway department,
Why was that?
nor, and you're speaking out of order.
Yes, of course.
And there's an explanation as to why you
You're out of order. You're out of order. Because she run this.
handle the meeting because she got.
But she's out of order.
Where is your office?
An explanation would be appropriate.
But she's out of, you're out of order.
Somebody is supposed to.
I want to hear what she has to say. I want to hear all of this. I want to hear about the business of the borough.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald.
She walked out of the meeting, that's part of the business. She walked out.
If she can finish talking, then I can hear what her thoughts are as the president.
Thank you.
She can answer a question. She don't have to answer no question. She's talking. She's been polite.
She walked out of the meeting.
She
The
walked
meeting
out.
was appropriately adjourned, and that's what we're getting.
Well, she's talking right now.
Yeah,
I will walk out too.
It's so are you, ma'am.
Y'all behave the way y'all do. Let her talk.
Can we move on to our citizens forum and skip over the
Will
lecture?
you let her run the meeting? She's the president, like when you were. When you were the president, you didn't like that.
That's right.
Why is there no one, you see, so it's only when I speak, you see this. It's only when I speak, it's only when Councilor Rowehouse speaks. It's not when someone who's supporting Councilor Harris speaks.
I don't care who the president is. Let them be respectful.
You haven't been here. You don't know the
I'm watching
disrespect that
it
we
now.
tolerate.
I'm watching
You
it
don't
now.
know the disrespect we tolerate.
First warning, next one out.
You need to come up here.
Yeah,
You were arguing.
I believe we're as
You
citizens.
Are we going out of order? We going out of order?
Citizens forum is next. Citizens forum. We would like to hear from the citizens.
No, I wasn't done. And I think I can be done. I'm gonna make one simple admonition to every person that will view this meeting tonight, for you to vote with your feet. You see the disruption, the disorder, and the avoidance of having order here. And whatever the motives are for that, that's between them and their maker. But you elected us to conduct the business of this town. And if there are interruptions about that, you need to vote with your feet the next election. It's no big secret. The misinformation that's being spread in this community.
Alright, so this is where we stop. This is where we stop. We are here to conduct the business. So there's a point of order. We're here to conduct business, not here to
You see
campaign.
this disruption.
Because
This
it's
is
a
disruption
point of order. Did you acknowledge my point of
You
order?
should not be talking.
Did you acknowledge my
Councilor
point of
Monroe,
order? I said
when you
point of
were
order.
president of this council, and you were on Zoom meetings, she would
Point of
cancel
order.
out, she would cancel
Point of
out
order.
Councilor
Point of order.
Councilor
Point of
Rosewater.
order.
I am
Point
the
of order.
president, and I am talking,
Point
and
of
you
order.
need to be quiet.
Point of order.
You want to put a point of
I'm
order?
asking for a point of order.
When I'm talking as the chair and president, it doesn't matter who's sitting in this chair.
I asked for a
When
point
you
of
are
order.
disrespectful to
Yes,
the chair,
I asked for a
you
point
do
of
not
order.
have permission from this chair, period.
There's a point of order. You don't need a permission for a point of order.
And so you
I am
just
asking
want
for
to
a point
put
of
a
order.
flowery term on it so you can continue to disrupt.
I am not. It's a point of order. It's a part of Robert's Rules of Order.
And I
I'm
remember
asking for a point
distinctly
of order.
watching you mute
Point
Ms.
of order.
Roseflower on or to
Business. Can we return to the business?
So you want to return to the business while you make noise.
Point of order. We're moving on.
The only noise is a point of order.
The noise is your mouth. That's for your face. You're out of order. Yes, ma'am.
And when they beat you
Yes,
up, you
ma'am.
can't
Yes,
take it.
ma'am.
Now you wouldn't
Yes,
be able to take it.
ma'am.
See what
Yes,
I'm saying?
ma'am.
You wouldn't be able to take it.
I'm calling a
You would not be able to take it.
Madam
That beast come out. You would not say.
President, I'm just saying.
You would just
Wait a minute. Madam President, you have to lead by example. This thing goes both ways. I know y'all think that I'm up this, behind her, but when she's wrong, she's wrong. And one thing, y'all should have been working with me, knowing that I am a new council member, trying to help
Now there's
me.
another point of order. We're at citizens.
Well, I'm done.
Oh dear. Okay, let's get the business done. For those persons who want to have an opportunity to speak, I want to call Elaine Wells. Thank you. You have 3 minutes, and you can't transfer your minutes to anyone. Agenda items, excuse me, agenda items only is the order of this meeting.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elaine Wells, and I live in 1000 block of Cow Creek Parkway with my sons and my grandchildren from time to time. I came to this meeting tonight for a couple of reasons. I spoke a few months ago at this council meeting about the disarray that is the Borough Council, and that I'm not beholden to anyone sitting here, including the mayor. However, what you all display here tonight is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's embarrassing, and I pay a lot of taxes. I've lived here for over 25 years, and my tax money right now, I feel like it's being wasted. That being said, the Williamses, who are my good neighbors, Cheryl and her husband, who are my good neighbors, we have all had intoxicated people run into our property. Our properties meet in the middle, right at the intersection of Cobbs Creek and McDade. And every time there's an issue, and one of my neighbors reaches out for help or assistance from the borough, fingers get pointed to the state points fingers back to the borough, and nothing is getting solved. And day by day, these incidents get worse and worse. And the thing that I don't want to see is my grandchildren, my mother, their grandchildren, their children, or anyone else get killed because of this accident. There's a dip in that road that has been there. We've asked to have it filled in, and nobody wants to take responsibility. There needs to be something done immediately, not just keep kicking the can down the road for the safety of everyone involved on that corner. We pay enough taxes for something to have been done, and the Williamses right now are not even allowed to be in their homes. So we're asking for the council to approve any measure immediately for them to have some resolution to the danger that's at that intersection.
I'm gonna ask.
Was the grant put in already?
I'm going to ask the borough manager to get back to you as well. There is an update on that.
So
on
is
particular
that something
situation.
that you all can let us know in this meeting tonight? What plans are to be done?
We can meet with you after the meeting so that we can.
Oh, no.
That's not the last time. It's the last time.
There is, excuse me.
Madam President.
Pardon me?
A lot of good news.
Yeah, there is good news, but in the interest of time, if you want your.
But that's something, the good news is the part that the community needs to know, that the Williamses need to know, that Shirley family needs to know.
There has been in-depth discussion with both with the engineer, with the highway public works, the highway PennDOT, and there has been a lot of discussion, and there are some recommendations that are going to be
Have the grant
that are going to happen
been yet?
to address
Because you
that
gotta
now.
start with the grant.
Okay, there is. Just in the interest of time, we have about 20 people that want to come after you, so.
Okay.
So we can definitely get information to you. All right.
To all of us.
Everybody,
Right,
yes.
to everyone.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Wells. Jeff Nicholson?
Hi, Jeff Nicholson from 6 and 7 Hereford Place, right next to Mercy.
Yes, by the hospital.
Yeah, I emailed all of you earlier in the week. Jeffrey Wilkinson has been really helpful tackling the pond issue that we have on the property. It formed shortly after some stormwater work was done near Providence Road to reroute stormwater that was thought to be responsible for a sinkhole. The design was done by an Elaine Mulvaney, and it wasn't very good. It broke up quickly, and we've had this large pond formed on the property across from Thames Pines Park. We're going to lose a lot of mature trees, which is sad. It'd also affect our privacy a bit. And, but anyway, Jeff has a good plan and has been, made me happy about our tax dollars that we spent. Our family's been there at the property since probably the 1920s, perhaps longer. All of Hereford Place at one point was part of the family. We sold the property off to the hospital and Grace Court and all these things. So anyway, we've paid a lot of taxes for a while and love the community, and I'm there now. I don't know what generation I am, but I'm there.
Sure.
Anyway, we are not a litigating type of family. We thought I'm interested in pursuing some kind of tax abatement maybe going forward, just to reduce the taxes to address the environmental damages and I thought it'd be a good time to bring it up since there's been good action by Jeff and you guys to remediate the problem. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Nicholson, I'll just refer you to the borough manager as well. I'll give your information to him and he'll coordinate with you.
Okay.
Council President, I'm asking to be recognized.
Mr. Dodson.
Yes, ma'am.
Council
This is the
President,
gentleman here.
I was asking to be recognized.
You're recognized, Ms. Monroe.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholson, thank you for coming, and I'm sorry for the troubles that you're having with your property. I did some research and found out that the stormwater management system for Macadamia Court hasn't been installed yet. And that's because the heavy equipment that was needed to build the structure was, would have broken whatever it is that they would have buried under the ground, so they're not at that stage yet.
I'm not really, they've been good too, and Rossi, I started with them just to kind of, so they could do their due diligence and make sure they're not adding to inadequate stormwater runoff, and they've assured me I'm okay with what, it sounds like they are gonna put something in the latest
Yes,
grades.
but I just wanted to let you know
Okay,
that
yeah.
piece, that at one point we may have assumed that, that was the first step in that process.
Yeah.
That's like the fifth step in that process. The structure had to go up, so what they buried under the ground wouldn't be damaged by the heavy equipment needed to build the structure.
Right.
So that is the next step that's happening.
Okay.
And hopefully that will alleviate some of
Yeah,
the issues, and I'm sure Jeff Jeff knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the pond is formed prior to that construction project though, so I don't think, that was just to ensure that they put in something good so that the lines don't take on potentially more water. So I think really the problem is with what the borough put in to reroute the storm water.
Yeah.
So start talking to them is just to make sure they are smart and don't,
Mr. Nicholson, you're gonna need to, our engineer is here, Mr. Crusoe, and the borough manager. That's the protocol you need to follow.
Okay.
All right, so that, he will get, I gave him your information. He'll coordinate with you, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I would like to be recognized.
You recognize Ms.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all of this sad news with respect to the properties getting ran into, with the drunk drivers, ponding issues, destroying property, so forth and so on. And I'm a little disturbed because everyone was not included again in these issues. To me, it feels like this person knows what's going on, but the other person does not know what's going on. I feel like everyone up here needs to be informed with respect to what's going on. Not only us, but the people that are directly involved. I just heard with respect to the Williams property, and I'm sorry about the other family's property, I didn't get their name, Wells. We have good news. Well, who are we? Because I don't know of any news. Do you know of any news?
I don't, I only know of Mr. Nicholson
So
because he sent the
we
email.
should have discussions as a whole when it comes to these types of issues. These are all of our constituents, not just a few. We all need to be at the table, having a discussion, weighing in addition to the actual participants who are going through these issues.
Now, listen, now, Jim, just a moment.
So I just feel like,
Counselor,
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Counselor, I want to interject here. We have workshop meetings where the public is invited to come.
You
Where
left.
the residents, excuse
Walked out.
me, you keep doing it. Residents are invited to come to workshop meetings. You have this meeting to come to. These issues, you bring them before this council. There is a protocol in order to respond to them. And it is not a situation. At the last workshop meeting, the mayor held on to the microphone and would not release it to me. So the meeting had to be canceled.
You make it wrong.
So the meeting meeting had to be canceled because of the defiance of the mayor.
These presidents should not have these presidents. No, you interrupted me and I was not finished.
Councilor.
These presidents should not have to come to a public forum and air out their personal business. That's what's done. You're wrong.
What is it for?
Somebody can't live in their house and they're supposed to come to the workshop and say we can't live in our house because of something the borough didn't do.
Do you know, Ms. Rose?
You're wrong.
You're not being honest. You're not being honest. You have
This is how I feel. The something's not right. We have all these people here, all these residents. People are running into people's homes. The borough manager has good information.
That's right.
Why is it not being shared with everybody? Forget all these people.
It's a
He
part
just said he has information.
It's a
to
part
give.
of his report. It's a part of his report.
It is not a part of his report.
Yes, it is.
It's a part of his report.
So
We can't hear you.
As a secretary, not as a borough manager, the president of the council calls the meeting to order. It is her, along with council's agenda. She determines who can speak, she can recognize whom she recognizes. I cannot say, Madam President, let me speak. I listen to her as council president. So if she says, for the sake of time, and to the gentleman or the lady, I'm sorry, who addressed that issue, we can talk at the meeting. I will be more than happy to address your issues and to Madam Councilor Roflau, I would agree that all of council needs to know what's going on as it relates to that project. I do have good news. I will share with the lady who came up, and as of tomorrow, I will send out a report as to the progress of that particular project. But I will assure you that I was there at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I speak to the Williams families on a regular basis. I spoke to their adjuster today. I spoke to my my public works director. We have been there. We have improved the wattage on the lights. We put a digital sign out. We were meeting with our engineer. We are spending $1 million to fix that problem from Cobb's Creek all the way up to Church Lane. Madam President asked me not to speak on that at this moment. So ladies and gentlemen, I will respect her as a president and discontinue my conversation.
That's in 2
So I would
years.
ask for a motion to amend the agenda to move the manager's report forward.
Madam President, permission to speak.
Is there
The mayor has the floor.
So I sorry, Mayor has a motion on the floor to amend the
The
agenda.
mayor has the floor.
But I put a motion on the floor to amend the agenda.
You have not been recognized.
She doesn't.
You don't have to.
Is there a motion? I'm making a motion.
Parliamentary procedure.
Mr. Bonds, am I able to put a motion on the floor?
I cannot.
All right, let me.
Am I able to put a motion?
You have the floor.
Because I put a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to move the manager's report ahead so we can hear the good news.
Yes.
I second.
Can we vote on it?
There is not a
Wait,
The motion is on the floor and the vote needs to be closed.
And it was, I moved, it was seconded. Can we please have a discussion or?
You have not been recognized. The motion is not recognized.
Come on, Mr. Bob.
Mr. Boggs. Mr. Boggs.
Mr. Boggs.
Mr. Boggs.
You want to suspend the rules. You want to suspend the rules while you're talking, but you want to
Absolutely, she's right.
And it was seconded.
Robert's Rules of Order.
All right, well, we're right there.
So we're gonna continue just to not vote.
So we would just continue for you. You don't have any respect for the chair.
You don't have any respect for the residents that's going through some very serious trying times right now. All right, sorry guys, I tried.
Can you keep
All right.
it at a minute?
Please don't say it's all the council not working for your behalf, because it's not all the council. Please don't say that.
Okay, I'm gonna try to cut to the chase here. We have several residents that reside in that corner. The most egregious problems have been at 931 McDade, where the Williams is. Michael and Jackie, they keep running into their homes, and my other neighbor across from there, they've ran into their homes 3 times. My other neighbor's 1001 Church Lane. They went into their living room, over their lawn, into their living room, and then they did the same thing to the Moses property, even more damaging. They went all in severed gas mains. The whole complex had to be evacuated that night. Thank God the Moses weren't home. They were vacationing. They could have gotten killed. They're still not in their property. That happened on April 30th. And they have to spend, they can't find insurance. No one will insure the place. They keep running into it. I don't want these neighbors, these good neighbors to move out. This will become a siege. My other neighbors were on vacation. They ran into their property the same way the next week. I'm coming to the chase. These people need help. They don't need platitudes from us. And I'm proposing right now, putting a motion on the floor, that we help them ensure a good faith effort, because they've been going through this for over a decade, to give them $5,000 for their displacement right now, to help them. And that's something that will go a long way. I'm putting that motion on the floor. Okay, you put a motion in.
Listen, what are the addresses? 931 what? And what's the other address?
1001 Church Lane.
And the names on the property, Williams? It is 931?
Williams is, yeah.
And whose church?
The Maddoxes.
Madison?
And Elena's been hit too, Elaine Welsh.
Madison's?
Maddox.
Maddox,
Yeah.
okay.
And Elaine Welsh property's been hit.
Okay. Okay, so I put a motion on
Property address.
Huh?
1012.
1012
West Scottsboro
West
Park.
Oh, I'm sorry, your property as well?
Yeah.
3 properties?
Yeah, 3 properties in
1012, what is it?
West Cop Street.
West Cop
West
Street
Cobb
Park.
Street. And that's the Wells.
Yes.
Okay. I put a motion on the floor for Dayton Borough to give $5,000 to each property owner. 931 McDade Boulevard, 1001 Church Lane, 1012 West Cobb Street, to assist them since they have been displaced due to accidents, continuous accidents. And this is not normal.
Right, it's not normal.
This
and I
is not
thank you for
normal.
that
This is
motion.
not a normal circumstance.
I thank you
This
for-
wasn't a one and
No.
done.
It's been happening
This is
for over a
consistent
decade.
accident.
It's really terrible.
So to give $5,000
Here,
to
here.
each of those families, I do not believe is,
No.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I do not believe.
It is against the law for the borough
I'm
to
not
give
finished.
money to a resident.
I'm not
It
finished.
is against the law.
I'm not finished.
It's against the law. You cannot make a motion on this floor to violate the law. Mr. Wise,
Second the motion.
Solicitor,
Motion's been made and seconded.
Mr. Mayor, you have no authority.
Yes, I think it's against the law, and we really need to.
Go ahead, Mr. Wise. The solicitor is here, and he can address the issue.
But I think it's time to look into, we have to look into this to make sure we don't get it
It's illegal, Counselor. It's illegal.
I think it is.
It's illegal.
We've given out money to brothers and faith. Why would I do that? Because they're in need. Why Why should we need to stay right now?
Let's not.
Why is it so when we donate?
She may not know better, and you know better.
Why is it against the law when we donate to athletic teams? We donate to senior citizen centers. We donate
You
to.
can't do it.
Mr. Wise, I would like to hear from you.
Please, let the solicitor respond to
Well,
this.
you know what? I think.
It's not the first
Why
time
you
we
keep
heard it.
interrupted? Why you keep interrupted?
Because it's important for the president, because I'm the chair.
No, that doesn't give you the right to interrupt. Just say you don't want to help the people because you don't have a plan in place to rectify the situation.
You want to
Say you
create-
don't want to help the people.
You
That's
want to
all.
create
Just say it. You want to
an
give,
artificial
you want
argument.
to hire
You
your
and
friends
Mayor.
and give them $100,000 a year with no experience, but you don't want to help people who are in dire need of
You
help.
are wrong, counselor, and you are out of order. You're wrong, and you're out of order.
Ask to hear from the solicitor if this was illegal.
Mr. Boggs, we have already, excuse me, just a moment. When the mayor made this recommendation, excuse me, when the mayor made this recommendation in the workshop, I presented this recommendation to the solicitor because I know the borough code prohibits it. And he verified it. And to come in this platform today,
To whom did he verify?
excuse me, he verified it. And for this
The
mayor
borough code prohibits
to
Lassie
lead
Dotson.
and
We
to
allow that.
misguide, excuse me, to misguide and mislead these residents. The very first answer to your personal issue, it's a twofold issue. We addressed the first part of the issue 15 minutes ago, that the PennDOT, who owns that state highway, has to do something about it. It's in the borough, but they own Church Lane.
That's right.
And so PennDOT has been invited here to examine it. This gentleman here, Jeff, who works in our highway department, along with the manager, have examined the problem.
And the engineer.
And the engineer have researched and examined the problem.
What's the problem?
Now,
Is it illegal or not?
excuse me, so that when you, excuse me, you are not, you keep talking without, hello? So you have this kind of disruption, you have this kind of disruption constantly. You're not interested in what's true, you're not interested in what's right, you're not interested in what's legal, you're not interested at all. You want optics so that you can put it on your blog and make it look like we're not getting anything done. Well, you're the culprit for not getting anything done. All right, Mr. Boggs, please listen to the solicitor.
President, please listen. Residents, please listen.
We all know who not to vote for next time.
Can we hear from that resident?
The solicitor has the floor. The solicitor has the floor. You've been misled, and I apologize for that.
Mr. Boggs, please.
Any idea that the borough can grant you dollars? There's property insurance. Those are other issues. And where, excuse me, and where the mayor, it's really egregious.
Insensitive.
It's egregious. So the mayor
help them. You can still find a way to help them.
Go ahead.
Anything to help. Guardrails. Instead of $95
You so
We want to hear from the resident that's on the scene, because you're being insensitive, but for not listening to people in our borough that's been hit every week.
You do not have permission to speak now. The solicitor, no ma'am. The solicitor has the floor. The solicitor has the floor. Mr. Boggs.
There is nothing in the Borough Code that provides for governments making these kind of payments to citizens. I cannot say with 100% certainty that it is illegal. However, it is not legally advisable for the borough to start taking on the business of insuring certain things. Because if, I know that the intention, the well-intentioned people here are trying to keep this to an isolated, unique incident. But as soon as you start giving out money for this, the floodgates will open up. And then more people are going to claim that they have a right to this type of treatment from the government, and it has to be equally done across the community. So while I cannot say that it is illegal, no one will get arrested if this council votes to give these people $5,000. It is not my legal opinion to do that. I believe that the borough manager's report that I am privy to is the appropriate action of government, and it is the appropriate fix, and it is far more than $5,000.
Okay.
So it's not illegal.
Well, it was a motion, we just vote in that case.
It's not illegal. Can we take the, do you mind if we take the vote?
She's asking to be heard.
I say,
Ma'am, you have,
take the
ma'am, what's your
vote?
name? I'm sorry. What's your name?
My name is Clara.
Williams.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what
You
you
have
said.
a form up here. Paul Williams.
No,
Clara.
Clara Michael Williams.
Uh,
The people whose house got hit like 7 times in the last 2 years. No, last year. In November. Within the year, it's not even a year.
Okay, I have it. Clara and Michael.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know, you can call if you're not gonna state the entirety of the meeting, but we need your phone number so Mr., you have
He
it,
has my
Mr.
number.
Dodson? Okay,
Yes.
I'll pass this on to Mr. Dodson. Thanks.
I just wanted to say that my husband and I have been living at that property for 21 years. And we have had numerous accidents. But this past year, from July 2021 until April the 30th, the accidents are getting worse. And I have replaced the fence around my property 4 times, and it's been destroyed. But this last time, they ran into our property while we were on vacation, and they ruptured the gas line. Now, my question to all these residents, especially the residents that live right in the area, most of you have lawnmowers, and you have gas in your lawnmowers. So it's a possibility that that whole block could have been on fire, exploded. And when I was at the last meeting, this is what I shared with you guys. I said that I did not want anyone to die on my property, and I was afraid that it was going to explode, and that's exactly what happened. I've been reaching out, asking to get poles around the house that I was going to pay for. But I was told by the code enforcer that I couldn't put it here, there, whatever. So he allowed me to put 3. He wanted me to put it on the outside. People are running into my property on different angles. Even they suggested boulders. The boulders that they wanted me to put there, it still wouldn't keep us safe. So do my family and I feel safe staying in that house? We displaced now? No, I'm not safe because every single weekend, and I'm not trying to say where they come from because I really don't know, but every person that hit our house, maybe for the exception of this last one, was intoxicated. Okay? That's not fair to my family. While everybody in their house, in their living rooms, comfortable, you don't have that fear of someone coming into your house, running up on you and your family. That's not fair to us for all the tax money that we pay. We didn't sign up for this. And yes, I do have homeowners insurance, but how many of you know that the homeowners insurance has went up sky high that raised my mortgage $300 plus? You think that's fair to me that I didn't cause? What about our cars, our vehicles, been ran into, okay? Our auto insurance doubled, okay? This is no fault of ours. And I know what you're saying, that you can't help. I just wanted to come here and speak out and let the people hear that this not only affects them, it affects the whole community. When is the community going to come together and help one another? You know, why should I be displaced where I pay mortgage, that I pay on time?
So this is not fair to us. I'm tired of coming here on Isaac Doxson, excuse me, you told me when you called me 2 weeks ago, you said this plan was gonna take 2 years. We can't wait 2 years for somebody to run up. Every single weekend is some damage done. Just recently, Cheryl Maddox, Mother's Day, somebody ran up on theirs and they have concrete poles. You know, I mean, what more do we have to do as residents?
Our engineers here, Mr. Vercuso, could you speak to her just to let her know, give a range of what peak, of what,
Right, we met out there. I got a call from Rufus about 1 o'clock in the morning that Friday evening. I spoke with Rufus on Saturday, and was out there on Monday with the
PennDOT.
No, not with PennDOT on that day. With the chief, with Mr. Dotson, and with the engineer from TPD who had been hired by the borough to do to change that to one-way eastbound. They were going to change. This happened before I got on board. They were going to change it to one-way eastbound. I issued a memo to Mr. Dotson and gave what we termed coming out of that meeting short-term and long-term decisions, things that we could do in the immediate, things that were going to take longer. We then had a subsequent phone call with PennDOT. Vince DeFavia from TPD wanted time to go back to PennDOT because the question was raised about should it be one-way westbound rather than eastbound. And so we went and investigated that. He went back and investigated that with PennDOT. We had a subsequent phone call with PennDOT. I expanded the memo based on some other suggestions that PennDOT had at that meeting for both short-term and long-term solutions. So, long story, the borough can implement these short-term solutions immediately. Additional lighting at the intersection, additional signage at the intersection, painted curbs. Now the problem is that where this 1 year to 2 year thing comes in is that to implement the plan that TPD got hired to do, and again that goes back to last when Chief Chachi was here and the idea of making it one-way eastbound. To implement that plan, it's not just a matter of putting one-way signs on the street. All of the traffic signals have to be changed. And that's a pretty intricate design, and that's probably at a cost of about, just at the intersection of Church and McDade, it's probably at a cost of about $300,000. And then it affects the traffic signals at McDade and Cobbs Creek. At the last meeting, we talked about the fact that the borough had gotten awarded a grant for $1 million, TA set-aside grant. We've had several calls about that, and I had a call with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning. I know this is a long story, but it's a very complicated issue. We had a call with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission this past week to ask them if we could amend the scope of work for the Cobbs Creek project to include McDade and Church. We then revised our cost estimates because the traffic signal, to make it one way, which is what PennDOT wants to do, and what the police wanted to do, it requires, now the signals at both Church and McDade are affected, and McDade and Cobbs are affected. It's about a $500,000 project. Traffic signals are not, they're very expensive. So what we want to do is implement the short-term solution things right now, that the borough can do. And then get this project, the one-way project, included in the TA set-aside project. And that does take about 1 year to 2 years because it's a very complex grant, has a lot of federal strings attached to it.
What are the short-term solutions?
The short-term solutions that we came up with were to increase the lighting at the intersection with some overhead lighting. To paint the curbing.
Please, you be quiet in the audience, please, so we can hear. Sorry, Mr. Biscuit.
Okay. The short-term solutions were to get additional signage both in advance of the intersection, what they call chevron signs, in advance of the intersection. When we were out there, the borough had already, I think the chief and Jeff had already put an interim flashing signal sign out there. We wanted to have that move closer to the intersection. But we're also going to put a permanent one of them that records your speed, immediately. We want to get additional chevron signs, paint the curb yellow, so these are all things that the borough can do like immediately. And I keep hearing guide rail. The problem with guide rail is, again, the state has very strict laws about where you can put guide rail. And it's got to do with, the slope of how the property slopes away from the street. And it wouldn't, it wouldn't merit guide rail at that particular location. So I think that what we want to do is to try to get, and Jeff can talk about where he is on these short-term implementation, but we wanted to get those done like yesterday. I mean, as soon as we can get those implemented, we want to do it. But we also want to get this long-term plan done too.
Let me ask a question. Initially, you were talking about a one-way street going towards Cobb Street.
Correct.
Am I correct?
That's right.
Has that, because that seems like a problem to me.
Yeah, so.
You now have changed it to go in the opposite direction?
No, when we got, I'm sorry, but we asked that question on that Monday when we were there immediately after the accident. That seemed like, a more logical thing to do, but when we went back to PennDOT and with all the accident history that had been investigated, because this intersection had been investigated to death by Chief Chachi and previous engineer, and all the accident history that the traffic planning and design had looked at, and PennDOT still says that eastbound is the better way to make it one way. Because you have to remember that once it's made one way eastbound, then other things can happen at the intersection because we won't have that two-way traffic coming up. They can relax the traffic away from the Williams' property by making it one way in that other direction.
So basically you're saying, or are you saying, how do I put this? Is the majority of this traffic coming from the Darby area into Yaden on McDade Boulevard?
Yes.
Is that, because I'm feeling that that is really the problem.
And
Because they're all coming and hitting these houses.
Right,
And it seems like the traffic needs to be diverted in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like one of the other things I forgot was one of the things that PennDOT brought up, and again, we were on the phone an hour and a half with PennDOT, I mean, it was not a short call, was that there's a lot of overgrowth of the trees at the intersection, so drivers that are traveling eastbound from, as you just indicated.
There's not.
They
I
can't-
got a call from the borough code enforcer the other day. We talked about, I always gotta get permits about something. And he said, oh, you gotta cut the trees. I said, my tree's been cut down for several years because I got the fence around the property. I have no trees that's covering anything.
But it's the trees on the other side that we want to try to get.
It's on the side of the church, and it's on the side of the property opposite the church. Mr. Stokes has already sent notices to at least 4 owners of trees, not yours, on that property, on that intersection. So they already have been notified that they have to have an arborist come out and cut those branches that are causing a shadow over McDade Boulevard.
So they're blocking when you are traveling in that eastbound direction from Darby, as you indicated, when you are making that, the signals are a little bit hard to see. The street lights are not effective.
So here's my concern, and thank you for that, but my concern is number one, are the property owners included in these conversations? No. So that's a problem.
That's not true.
That is true.
I don't mean to speak out of turn, Madam President, but Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Williams,
No.
I don't expect you to, that's okay. But excuse me, for the record, I have been in contact with both you and your husband. I have laid out for you. Excuse me, ma'am, I don't want to be rude. Please, I don't want to be rude, and I won't be rude. But I have suggested to you, ma'am, over and over again, the things and the actions that we were taking to remedy the situation. I personally asked you about your fence. You wanted to put up that, what you just discussed. I said about the 8 ballers that you in turn said that Mr. Stokes said you couldn't. I called Mr. Stokes and he said you could. You could run those 8 ballers right down your sidewalk as long as they weren't in the street. We had the discussion. Your adjuster called me and asked me, he called me today and asked me about engineer, and I cooperated with him 100%. So, without being again disrespectful to you and any resident, I will say to you that in all honesty, we have been diligent in trying to we know that there's a hump in your street. We know that they're coming fast down that hill. So we moved the digital sign from one location to another. Our code enforcement director instructed people to cut their trees. I spoke to Mr. Wilkinson, our director of Public Works, thank you. And we're going to put reflective signs on your 3 bollards on your property with your permission. We have been in communications with you throughout. Now the other residents, I will admit that I have not been, but I will tell Mrs. Williams that she and I and her husband and her son, whom I invited to come to this meeting, to discuss your house being hit 6 times. So we have been very diligent in trying to help you.
That's been 3 weeks. You called him one time, and you called me one time, and I called you to ask you a question. You called me to inform me, could I put poles around my property now?
Not around your property.
No, after the fact. But when I was going to the code enforcer,
Yes,
he told me no. He pulled out a sheet of paper, told me I couldn't put it here, there, and there. I put 3 up there, hoping that that would stop him, but that didn't stop him. But let's be real clear. You have not been on a regular basis in contact with me. Let's be clear about that.
So
And I'm not going to tell the truth.
My actual question was whether or not you, the property owners, had been involved with the meetings with the engineer.
No.
PennDOT.
No.
Those are the meetings you need to be.
Here's the thing. With the engineer,
You should be included.
my insurance correct.
First of all,
That is not correct.
listen, I'm talking.
The engineer is at the
You
beginning
should
of this
sit at the table with the engineer and with PennDOT. It's your property, and you should be able to sit at the table and come up with resolutions as well.
I called the engineer. I hired the engineer. I hired the engineer. I called my public adjuster, and my public adjuster called my insurance company, and they told us that we couldn't get an engineer unless it was approved by the borough. That's how that went. But I called him, I looked him up, nobody assisted me with that. I did that on my own to get the ball rolling. My insurance company haven't given us a dime, okay? So we gonna be clear about everything. I ain't gotta lie about nothing.
You know what? I feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
So I'm another resident, and I do have a paper in there. But one of the other things that the borough could do very quickly is to provide my neighbor with the copies of the police reports that I believe she requested, and without cost. Is that illegal?
No, and I called the police department, and Lieutenant will testify that he can go up and get the reports. So a lot of the things, and I don't
I have a copy of the police report from the most recent accident that happened at my house a week after hers. And of course, the person had no insurance, because why would they? Why would they care about anybody else's property? But the other thing is that it is very challenging to find any counsel, and I am an attorney, but I don't work in that area of the law. But it is challenging to find any attorney, because I called one while I was away on vacation after the accident to try to find somebody to sue somebody for property damage. If you get injured, oh yeah, you find attorneys all over the place. You hear that all over the news. But property damage is not covered, and you don't find attorneys for that.
Because
been hurt by these accidents. What I want to say is that I know it won't make you whole, and I know it won't do a lot for you, but I think that the community should do a donation for you guys for now. It's not going to make you whole, I know that. But if the insurance company is not giving you anything and the community want to work together, then for the families that's been damaged by this, we should take up a donation, maybe for a month, right here at the practice.
One other statement, I'm sorry, I wasn't yielding my time.
You're Miss Wells, correct?
No, I'm Miss Mathis.
Madison.
I'm at 1001 Church Lane. Church Lane in McDade. And I have the same PTSD from hearing any kind of screeching of tires, any kind of accidents. I was afraid to look out at the accident that hit their house because I just knew somebody was dead.
It was really serious.
I couldn't even look out there at that time. But you smelled gas so heavy in the air when you come out of the house. If it affects them...
Has that been remedied?
I'm sorry?
Has it been remedied with PCO?
I haven't smelled anything, but no, they turned it off. But that's not fixing. They had to turn off the gas at the accident that hit my house October 2019 that came through my living room because the gas pipe was ruptured. And we had to get a plumber out to pay for it ourselves to get the gas line fixed before we could have the gas back on. And that's in October of a year, which normally is not very warm outside. But that's that. But what we need to recognize, again, somebody said, is that if it's affecting one of us, it's affecting all of us. Because that gas line, but for the grace of God, could have ruptured and caused an explosion that would have taken out a lot of residents. A lot of residents. And as their insurance goes up on their home, it's going up for all of us. Trust me, when you get reassessed, it will go up for everybody. There is no reason that you should ever have to make the statement that my house was involved in a car accident. That don't make no doggone sense. It really doesn't. And as their home value decreases, that affects every resident that's here, that's online, and that's within Yaden. It will affect all property values. So we need to get this fixed.
Now, may I make a common sense, what I think is a common sense resolution? Why in the world can PennDOT not put the heavy bumpers going up and down Church Lane and Allen Avenue? I mean, they're doing it in Philadelphia. It makes you stop. It makes you stop. Why don't they even think about putting them there to slow that traffic down? It seems to me it would be the first thing you would do. Slow that traffic down. Make them slow down. Is anybody asking them to do this?
Madam Councilman, the accidents are not coming from Church Lane per se. It's going up, it's coming from McDade. The traffic study showed that it's coming from McDade Boulevard, and that's why PennDOT would not change direction, because it's coming from down the hill where they're picking, and there's a hump in the street at Church. There's a hump on the street between Church Lane and McDade Boulevard. When they come down that hill, they hit it, and they pick up speed. That's where all the effort is being placed. And the reason why it's going to take as long as it takes is because it's backordered on the poles, the lights, and what we're doing is giving immediate remedies to this situation. And again, I apologize. I apologize for any inconvenience. Also, when you put rubber bumpers down, the noise reverberates and it goes upstairs. So every time the car goes boom, 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 it goes up second and third floor. It becomes annoying.
So, I hope that, and I'm waiting to hear the report. I would like to hear the report that you have with this good news, but I'm hoping that it also includes with it dates, times, some accountability for everything to get done. Because if you say, oh, it's going to get done one day, it'll never get done. I thought that back in November when we heard the PennDOT report, they're the engineers. I didn't necessarily agree that the one-way was going to work, but hey, they're the engineers. They know better than I do. They don't come and try to do my job. I'm not going to try to do their job. But I thought that that was already approved by council. I thought that the dollars were already discussed at that time.
They were.
And I thought that that was already approved to get done.
It is.
And we're still talking about it now and don't have any definitive dates as to when we will see some progress done.
Blaming me.
It's already
Blaming the
approved.
mayor.
And the grant is in, so we don't know what else.
Like everything else is the mayor's fault.
So what are the short-term remedies right now with respect to the drunk drivers?
Councilman, you have not been recognized.
I heard everything else.
You have not been recognized.
Well, I think the families want to know.
Councilman, Just
mayor's
she
fault.
just speak. Mayor, stop it.
Yes, it is. You blame it for.
Wait, I'm sorry, there's still a motion on the floor. There's still a motion on the
Burrell
floor.
has the floor.
Mr. Burrell, I'm sorry, I think she may have forgotten. There's a motion on the floor.
No, there's no motion on the
Yes,
floor.
it is. Yes, it is. It was on the floor. The motion was
Yeah, was a motion, and it was
We
second.
need to vote.
The motion was moved.
We need a vote on that resolution.
All right, we
We
can
need
vote
to
no.
know on that motion.
I don't have a problem with it as long as it's legal. I don't have a problem with it.
There's a motion on the
Then
floor.
vote for it. Yeah, well, this is unusual. Ms. Brooks, this Carlette, what they're going through is really unusual.
Okay, would you stop, Mayor, please? Ms. Burrell has the floor.
There's a motion to vote on the floor. Are we going to take the vote on the motion?
No, ma'am.
It's not illegal.
That's illegal.
Residents, you want the motion to be voted on? We didn't support our residents.
Fight this people at the wrong time for the wrong thing. Now, I already said that I agree with the $5,000 to each individual family that.
Then vote for it.
But if it's done, we want to know for a fact, we want to do it, sure that it can be done.
It can be done. Because the solicitor said it's not illegal.
Can we
He said it's
just
not illegal.
take the vote and then there won't be a motion, there won't be an outstanding motion on the floor. Just take the vote.
We need to ensure that we can do this before we do anything.
He already answered the question. He said it's not.
He said, but it's not.
I want to see it in writing.
But he said he does not
Mr.
advise.
Boggs, would you get that in writing, please? I need to see it in writing. Because I want to help these people, but I need to know what I can and cannot do.
How are you gonna help them?
You can't do it.
How are you gonna help them?
So then we take the vote, and then you vote no, but
I think we
the
should
motion
do
is on
what
the
Councilor
floor.
Brooks said, let's try to come together and pull together to help this
Take up
family.
a donation.
That's a motion.
Need donations, and we all plan it.
These people are tired of waiting on the
Ladies and gentlemen, please, as a grown man, I'm in charge, I oversee the budget. The solicitor said, if you appropriate $20,000 to these residents, Lord knows they need the help.
It's
But
15. 15.
How many? 15,000. Ma'am, once you open that box, we have a budget. Once you open that box, you can't close it. And people, they are good intended people. People will come to the borough and they will claim, people will claim that the trash truck ran over. This, that, we can't, you are taxpayers. You can't afford it. I'm telling you, you can't afford it.
How much are their lives?
We don't need $10,000 in banners.
If you're not voting,
Cancel the fake webmaster. Cancel the fake PR person. You have made budget cuts.
Just paid the webmaster $8,000 last month. For nothing.
Cancel the banner. We don't need a flag day. We don't
There's a
have
motion.
presidents on the tent. So we're not
There's a
taking
motion on the floor. The council president has taken the motion off the floor.
No, you can't take it.
You
It's gotta be
cannot
voted
take
on.
a motion
It has to be voted on.
I make a motion that the community come together to help these families,
There's
and
already-
I will put $1,000 up first.
There's only one motion on the floor at a time. There's already a motion on the floor.
Well, they said they can't do it, they said
You
it's.
can make a motion to rescind the motion that's on the floor.
All I'm trying to do is just,
I'm gonna try. We gotta help these families.
it's help.
And we need to help them now. We need to help these families now.
the first motion.
I have only one question. Why is there no council meeting?
Yeah, we don't.
Yes, we do.
You cannot.
Mr. Bond, is there a motion Mr. Boggs, there's a motion on the floor that you need to address.
This man, I think this week, I'm trying to have a conversation with you all, because we really want to try
We
to
didn't
help.
vote on this motion here to help these families.
This is an extenuating circumstance.
It is.
This does not happen all the time.
That is correct. That is correct.
Now,
There-
somebody ran into my tree in the front of my house, but it's not like it's happening all the time. This is
Every
happening
week.
all the
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct. That's the difference. And we'll be heartless if we shut our hearts and not
We're
do it.
gonna do what Paul
We gotta do something. We gotta do something.
We're gonna help them.
We're just willing to help. Mr.
We're gonna help them.
Mayor, match 1,000 or 1,500, that's a three-family.
Match 1,000, man.
He said, so the mayor says he will match it.
We can do something privately, I'm not against that. I'll match, but we could do from the borough, it's not illegal. This is what you said,